Hi, Yoko.
Hi.
Thanks for coming to my podcast.
Thanks for having me.
The first one. So honored.
Oh, first one.
Okay.
Next to me, let's transform.
It's time.
Wonderful.
It's time. I have a lot of things I want to ask you, so I'm so happy you're the first person.
Yeah, congratulations. And I'm honored to be the first.
Thank you. I got more plants and everything just for you. I don't know if
Cool.
you can see it. I'll be roll it later. Yoko, first I want to talk about personal transformation. We're just going to jump right in.
Get in there.
Okay.
What do you want to know?
When I first met you, you had red hair.
Did I?
You had reddish hair, or it was like a darker color. I think you had red streaks in it,
It's
maybe.
probably brown.
And then you became this green goddess,
Yeah.
like ruler of the universe. Green is so much green. It's such a power color. Can you tell me what it means to you?
Yeah, when we first met, you were platinum blonde and I was like a brunette. Yeah. And that was before I went to grad school. But yeah, when I went to grad school, I had a very normcore aesthetic with hair and my clothes. But then no, I just always loved this like bright neon, like nuclear waste green. I always loved it, even when I was really little. But then like as I got older, I was like, oh, like what I love can also be who I am rather than just something like outside of me. It could be also like who I am. So no, slowly I like got emerald hair that was like down here, and then it got brighter and higher and brighter and higher, and like until it was all green. And it started with my hair, and then like I started to buy everything that was this color.
So nice. I feel like green is. What are some things that green symbolizes? Nature, obviously.
Envy.
Ooh.
I don't know, that's not a good thing.
Like toxic waste
Toxic
is
waste.
sometimes neon green.
Money.
Yes.
But also like friendship, and like it's the heart chakra.
Oh.
So green's actually really versatile. Like there has like negative connotations, but also positive connotations, and like all kinds of things.
We encompass that. That's so special. Tell me about your. Let's do a little thing on your tattoos.
Yeah.
They're so pretty, and I noticed like every time I see you, there's a new one.
There's a new kitty cat
Like
or a
with the-
plant.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
what or drinks? You have beverages.
I have a Japanese melon soda on my ankle. I have a willow tree on my wrist. I have a bottle of Mr. Clean on my hand. I have a lemon with leaves on it that I got in Greece. Like, yeah, I got a green. Oh, and I have on my right arm, I have a green peridot. Yeah, all kinds of green.
I think plants symbolize a lot too, right? I feel like you've also grown into just cultivating plants in your home and on your, with your tattoo collection and things like that. That's like a change. And fish.
It's really weird that when I first started my green thing, I actually saw it as a really artificial color. But then, yeah, somebody I was dating was like, wait, but it's also nature. And I don't know why it didn't hit me that like, oh, it's also a part of like the natural world too. But yeah, I think during the pandemic, I was just one of those like stereotypical millennials who got into plants. But I went to a plant place and I saw from across the room, it was like a rom-com moment where I saw this beautiful neon green plant and I was like, you're mine. It was like love at first sight. And it was called a neon pothos, and just beautiful, bright lime green. And now that's the name of my company.
Wow, that's magic.
I still have those first plants. They're still thriving.
Your power plants.
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool. Actually, in my music video, that was so great that you were boxing in a plant store, and that was your superpower.
That's right.
It was like
Neon matcha.
you and all the plants. Yeah. Well, something else I wanted to ask you about is friendship. So I feel like in your films and in your music videos, and there's this like theme of deep friendship, and I don't really see it that much. There's a lot of rom-coms, there's a lot of mysteries, or like like for films, I don't know, I just think that's like something really special that I don't see a lot. But where does
I think my like obsession and about like female friendships specifically come from the fact that like above all, within all my relationships that I've ever had, like romantic partners, even family. Like somehow my female friendships have just been the strongest, like most resilient and joyful bonds that I've had through my whole life. Like, so my best friend Anna, we've been best friends since like 5th grade. I have another friend, Susan. I've known her since kindergarten. And like I see Anna, like, even though she lives in Minnesota, I live in LA, we see each other like 4 times a year.
Wow.
Like more than I see my mom and dad.
I actually wrote a song about you and Anna because your friendship was so inspiring.
It's funny.
I never released it. It's called Best Friends Forever.
I want to hear it. Release it with this.
I think I sent
podcast.
it with y'all. Yeah, I remember showing someone. They're like, "This would be a great theme song for a children's series." And I was like, "Yeah, I guess." Sure. I was like, "I'm trying to be cool, but
Maybe it can be the theme of this podcast.
Best
Play
Friends
that song.
Forever." Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Cute.
Yeah, well, because you guys inspired me a lot. But in your recent feature that you just released, like friendship was such a big theme. And yeah, it was like kind of held the whole story together too. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a lot happening. It was very stressful. I cried.
Yeah, the movie was called Unseen, and I made it with Blumhouse, and it's like an unlikely friendship story between 2 women who end up like saving each other, right? But it is about a woman who gets kidnapped by her ex-boyfriend, and he's trying to murder her, and as she's running through the forest and trying to get away from him, she breaks her glasses. So then she accidentally calls a stranger over FaceTime, and like has this stranger who's a woman across the country help her through video call, like survive and escape and make it out from this crisis. But yeah, and I think that bond between those 2 women was always in the script, but I really wanted to lean into how, these 2 very different women connected, because one's a doctor and the other is working at a gas station. So these are two people that you wouldn't really think would meet in daily life, but through this, they kind of trauma bond over this incident. And and there's actually a moment at the end of the movie that we didn't get to shoot during the production, but essentially these 2 women like never meet, right? It's all over voice, or it's all over FaceTime. And then it was really important to me to like have some footage where we get to see the 2 women in the same frame. So what's awesome is, movie about friendship, Midori, who plays one of the characters, and Jolene, who plays one of the characters, like we all became such good friends. So like we just kind of like ran off and shot this footage on our own, and then like licensed it to the movie, because it was after production had wrapped, and they were just like, yeah, we'd be down.
It's in the film though, right?
Yeah, it's
like
in the
when
film.
you watch it, and it made it. That's so cool.
And what's awesome is so many people point that moment out at the end of the movie as like they explicitly talk about it as like, I love that moment when I got to see them thrive and smile and be at the beach together and like this.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that was really important, or else without that moment of like completion of their friendship coming together in person, the movie wouldn't have quite landed with the friendship theme.
Right. No, like you're totally right, because before that, I don't want to give it away, but they're kind of going to different places. They're still talking to each other on the FaceTime, but you think that's like the end, right?
They're going off in their separate worlds and lives. And like even though they're talking, maybe like it's not gonna, but yeah, the fact that they met in person and they meant so much to each other, it meant so much to me. So
special. Everyone should watch that movie. It's really good. Halloween is over, but it's for year round. It's like a horror.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like a thriller horror, but yeah.
I definitely call it a survival thriller. Yeah. It's, we made it with Blumhouse, which obviously has this like horror branding around it, but at its core, it's a survival thriller.
Yeah, the survival part is also really inspiring. I think both of us have, when we first met, I don't know if you were working out. I definitely wasn't. I don't know. I like do some yoga, but I feel like I was really inspired during quarantine to kind of like get stronger. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you felt the same way for like your health, but also for just to feel empowered. Will you tell me about like what? Actually, I was watching you doing your workout routines and like strengthening and doing like pull-ups on Instagram and TikTok. Like you post all this stuff, and I was like, wow, Yoko's doing that. Maybe I can do it too. Yeah. And it kind of like got me going.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, for me, I think all girls should be like as strong as they can be to defend themselves. But for me, it didn't come from a self-defense place originally. Like, I think I was always kind of stronger and bigger and as a girl growing up, and I think in the beginning I hated it, but then ultimately it was just like, no, you just have to embrace like what your strengths are literally. And I'm like, well, yeah, so yeah, I've been going to the gym for a long time, and I think through right before the pandemic I joined that one specific gym in, you know, Echo Park, and they were so hardcore, but I thought it'd be fun to challenge myself. So yeah, like pull-ups and, you know, handstands and stuff. It's super fun to accomplish physical feats, I think, because I did grow up as such an artsy kid. Like, my school barely had gym, you know, like we had like circus. So literally, we had circus
Tell me more
class.
about circus.
We had circus class. I went to a Waldorf school, and like we had gym and stuff, but we pretty much like played tag. Like, nothing was like that competitive. It wasn't, you know, we didn't do volleyball or anything or like football. It was like different kinds of tag. But yeah, every after 7th grade, 6th, 7th, 8th graders put on a circus for the whole school. So you literally have a class with a circus performer that teaches you like not acrobatics, but like unicycling, juggling. Like, we literally learned circus.
Really cool.
That's cool.
That's a good point. It's like, it's just good to challenge yourself, I feel like, right? Like,
It's fun.
constantly just like doing things that are hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
So
kinda
like,
makes you build grit.
yeah, and really I got into like burlesque dancing and aerial dancing and like pole dancing, and then like I felt like getting strong in the gym was just like the next aspect of that. And like a part of me still really wants to be like a ninja warrior. And like,
Are a ninja warrior. Wait,
Not
wait, wait.
right now.
Hold on. Wait. So Yoko, what was that show? The obstacle course.
I was on Wipeout.
Dude, Yoko was on Wipeout.
I was on Wipeout.
Hardcore.
I wiped out so hard.
But you're supposed to, because that's the name of the show.
I know, but they actually count how long, because it's not like a sprint. It really is more of a marathon. But they cut it so fast on TV you can't tell.
Oh my
But like to go
gosh.
through that whole obstacle course takes a long time, and if you fail, you have to get back up and keep going. Okay.
Yoko's even cooler than anyone thought. Did you know?
But at the end of everybody going through it, they have a list of everybody's time, and I was literally the slowest person to go through the whole obstacle course.
Just the fact that you went on that's hard. They're big. Those blowy
You
things are
fall
like,
so much farther and harder than you think watching on TV. You kind of get the wind knocked
we're
out
gonna
of
have to
you,
find a clip of that. This is epic.
and you have to climb back up and start over and start going, keep going until the very end. So they have all the footage to humiliate you with.
Yeah. They just pick all those spots
Yeah,
behind the scenes. Very cool.
it was fun though.
But well, speaking of friendships, I feel like the way we met was kind of funny, but then our friendship really endured.
Oh yeah,
Like we both had a crush on the same guy.
so silly.
So silly.
So
I remember like a 4th of July barbecue and being like, wow, Yoko's really cool. Like why are we like crushing on the same man?
It's so silly.
And we went on this like camping trip.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember what happened. Then I wrote Light Up the Sky, and then Yoko was like, oh, I really like that song. Like we should make a music video, right? Is that
Well,
how
we all hung out that like one wild summer where I was always drunk and going to like work the next day drunk still. And that was like 23 years old. And then I went to grad school and like everything changed. I like lost touch with that whole crew and you for like 2 years while I was at AFI, like learning how to direct. And then once I graduated AFI, I saw that you were starting your own thing, because you had always been in musicians, but you're in a different like person's band. So then you were like, do your own thing with Polartropica, and I saw that photo of you with like the watermelon slice, and I was like, oh cool, oh my god, that's so amazing. Because like again, like, you know, I just felt an affinity for like your fun, like whimsical aesthetic, but also like, you know, you're Asian American, and like I just didn't think I saw an artist that was like you that I could relate to, that was doing what you were doing. So I was like, oh my god, I have to make something for you. Like, I want to make your music video. So you hadn't really even had a music video. That was the first thing. So yeah, we collaborated on a crazy little thing where we drove down to the
It was so much.
Salton Sea. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, in middle of nowhere, no
Middle of
lights.
nowhere.
It smelled like eggs and fart.
Yeah, it was sulfur. It smelled like sulfur because there was all these. Yeah, it was the dead fish, and but it looked epic
It
and
looked
like
so cool.
we had
a panda battle. You threw.
we got Stephanie the ballerina to choreograph, and like we went wild with that first one. It's still iconic.
And even though it was the first one, I remember that got into like festivals already, and I was like, "Dang, I got spoiled." I was like, I got like the best video. Remember in San Diego we performed, and for some reason all these festivals are like, "Wow, the video's so cool! Like everything looks so cool. Can you guys perform live?" And I don't think that's like a normal thing that bands get to do. I remember in San Diego. I think I saw the photos. Yeah,
That's
with
so
the full
fun.
band.
Yeah, that was a fun little origin story, and like look how far you've come since then. Like, it's
You too.
yeah. Well, I remember like so we made that video, and like I went to like every gig you had in the beginning. Like you had like little gigs at like the bowling alley, and like a little gig at like Lot 2, which is this tiny little place that doesn't exist anymore, and like you're playing at the Last Bookstore. Did you do that one?
I played everywhere.
You played
Was there
literally
anywhere in LA that I did not play?
Anywhere with a corner and an outlet, you were playing.
And I would always try to bring like a blow up pool.
Yeah, that's right. You always brought the fantasy, even if it was like a basement,
the weirdest place,
and like no light
really
and nothing.
Tried. Yeah,
you
but
did.
It was fun.
And then like years later, to see you like play at the Nova and like open, and like you're playing like the stage at LGBTQ like Pride, like it's like we have come far.
You too, like watching your premiere, like and the carpet and all like everyone there to celebrate this film that you made. And I remember seeing for the first time, I was like, oh, I was crying because it was like a little scary, but also I was and like when you watch a horror movie and there's like a relief and you're just like, oh my god. But I was also crying because I was so proud of you. I was like, dang, you went from like. Yeah, just the very beginnings, I remember seeing your student film before we made the video together and being like, wow, she's got great aesthetic, just like such a vision. Same thing. I never seen anything like it. And like to get to work with you on that together and then watch you grow TV and like.
Yeah, we have come far. Yeah, back then I was just struggling making like, I worked at Super Deluxe, just like shooting videos of poop emoji hair and editing it and putting it up.
God,
and,
I
like,
remember
trying to survive,
that.
just trying to make any scrap of money I can, and like I was doing diversity programs and like not getting paid and just like
diversity programs.
It was just like and then now but I mean finally I broke into TV in like 2020, and like I actually been able to like pay for my life with directing, but before that it was a struggle bus.
What would you tell yourself? Like to encourage, your younger self, like what's something, a piece of advice that now that you wish you knew that maybe we can like pass on to like aspiring directors or just people trying to follow their dream of making art? What's something that like you feel like?
I think the most important ingredient to finding success and being an artist is lasting in the game. Is like if you last, things will happen. If you can hold on and keep creating art for even through the hardest of times, like doors will open up. Like you will accumulate experience and be building something, but you have to last long enough to like get there. And so what I would like tell myself from back then to make lasting easier would be to, even if you're in the hustle of being a beginner, like you have to rest. I think that
oh my gosh, that's such a huge one, because we think we have to keep going. There's so much to do, endless, right? It's not like a 9-to-5 job and you clock off. It's like
and I think I had to learn the hard way where like I had like a health crisis, right? Like I've always had eczema and issues with my skin, and so like before I met you, like I was in like a 6-month like health crisis where my whole body was like covered in eczema, and like I laid in bed for like 6 months, and you met me pretty much right after I came like out of that crisis. And so I had to learn the hard way that if you push yourself too hard and you're gonna burn out, right? And like at that point, if I didn't have like the support of my family, it could have been easily a moment where I had to move back home, you know? And like I wouldn't have been able to last in LA as like a 22-year-old with a health crisis. So, you know, again, I had the privilege of my parents helping me through that moment. But if you don't have that support system, like you have to be able to avoid having those crises by like really taking care of yourself and resting and sleeping and having boundaries and like not thinking that, you know, just because you're a beginner, you're allowed to be like abused for your time. And like, you know, do every opportunity just because it's an opportunity. And I know it's hard because it seems like you have to, but you still can't do like, you know, I was doing like literally 24-hour days. You know, like I would go,
Oh my gosh.
I was an extra in the for the movie Get Him to the Greek, and I was like in that the Greek theater auditorium from like 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. and then I drove to be a second AC on like an indie film directly.
Oh my gosh.
And like worked the next day, and like that's not good for anybody's body,
No,
even
and it's
if you're young.
common, right? And it happens a lot, right?
Yeah.
People are just hustling so hard,
And people get into car crashes and accidents and fall asleep on the road. Like, so I think you have to start even when you're starting out in the industry or as an artist to like give yourself grace and to rest so that you can last long enough for the milestones to occur and to see yourself level up.
That's great. Yeah, just pacing yourself and think long game.
Yeah.
I love
pacing
that.
yourself, totally.
I love
Marathon,
that.
not a sprint.
That's such good advice. Thank you, Yoko. I think that'll help a lot of people because I wish I like heard that too. You know,
You still hustle so hard.
I've started.
You still don't get sleep.
I started
Yeah.
resting more. I'm like I don't need as much sleep. I just wake up. But I did feel I had health problems too.
Mhm.
You know, I had some serious like weird health problems and allergies and like kidney stuff, which is related to stress. And there's a lot of musicians and artists that develop like autoimmune disorders. You Lady Gaga, like from how rigorous it is. And we just it's not worth it, you know, because you want to just be able to not be in pain all the time or
Well, you have
run
to
yourself
think
down.
of rest as not a time where you're like stopping your progress to rest, but think of it as an investment to your progress, right? It's a mindset thing where if you can see like getting 9 hours of sleep as an investment to be super energized and doing the best work you can the next day, then you can, you know, kind of just like justify that in your mind a little bit better rather than like, oh no, I have to stay up an extra 2 hours and get, you know, less sleep so that I can do more work, but your work is going to be of lesser quality. And if you're not sleeping right and eating right, like it's just not, and then you're going to crash and burn someday.
It's not worth it. Yeah. But I do think of rest and sleep as like one way, like when you focus on it, it's like of leveling up, you know, I mean, and I heard something recently, like if you think about it, if you just level up on one little thing every day, even if it's minor, you know, just if you say you're going to do something, like make sure to do it or put something away or just something in your life. If you level up just a little bit every day, like over a year, like that's massive. And so what are some other things that you like to do that you feel like improve your life, improve your ability to be creative and do your best work or feel joy and fulfilled?
I had a really intense beginning of this year where it was like I was traveling a lot and then my movie came out, so it was like events, screenings, dressing up, showing up, like so much was happening, right? But then once the strike happened, it was like our industry's own little pandemic. Like everything stopped and you were just kind of home. There was no traveling. There was just like this moment of silence. And I think amidst that, I had to learn how to continue to cultivate my creativity without the noise of everything else going on and making me, I think at a certain point I was like, oh, being busy isn't necessarily being creatively fulfilled or productive.
Right.
So during this time of like, you know, a very, really long strike over the months, I think I had to learn how to just like quietly be at home by myself and see that as like a really awesome creative opportunity. And so the one skill that I still feel like I feel very confident in directing. There's always something you can learn and try, but like I feel very like those tools are within my body. But writing still feels like I haven't quite leveled up to like the next like realm of skill. I still feel like I doubt myself a lot when it comes to my writing process. So yeah, that was a lot of trial and error and doubting myself and thinking maybe I should quit writing and all this stuff, right?
Yeah, the thoughts just creep in.
Yeah, but actually, so then at that point, when you're doubting yourself, I think it's important to go out into the world and just get inspired again. So like I'd go to the library a lot and just like browse the art sections, or like, one thing that really actually ignited something in my brain was Neil Gaiman's Masterclass. Masterclass, the whole series of like people teaching you their craft. So that like listening to how Neil Gaiman, this like prolific, incredible, like national treasure of a writer and a showrunner, and like he works in every medium. Like hearing him talk about his writing process changed my brain, like really changed my brain, because I just related so much to what he was saying of like you just sit down and you write and you explore. Like the way he was talking about writing was like you're exploring, you're seeing how these people talk, you're getting to know them, and you can germinate this. And just that sense of curiosity towards your own writing that he was expressing was so different than like what I had been trying to do, which is like cram a story together and just like force it into a functionable script. And I just like, it was always like this feeling of like just like having a hard fist in my hand. Right. But what he was talking about was like a flow and like a journey, and
I love that.
So different from what I felt like I had to do to get better. So that changed my whole thing. So yeah, I think when you're stuck, you want to start to hear other, people in your art talk about their art process, and I think that can really help.
Yeah, no, that's great. I feel like also we're so lucky because there's so many people that have done it before. Just learning everyone's process is really cool, and seeing good art or music or film is so inspiring. It like totally opens your mind to like the possibilities, and we're so lucky we're in a place where you can just turn on a film or take a journey.
Yeah, like that accessibility to Neil Gaiman, right? For like $150 or something to pay for masterclass was like, unprecedented. Like you couldn't do that 10 years ago, to just like, have your favorite authors talk to you in video and audio about their process. Like what a cool resource, and like something to really take advantage of.
Yeah, and what he said too about like you're just discovering. I feel like that's kind of like life, right? I try to like, when things get hard, we're playing with the universe. Like, let's try this. Is this gonna work? Or like, I think that's when the best result comes. It's when you're just kind of free and you're open and you're willing to take like risks or do something you wouldn't normally do out of the norm. And that's when like the most creative and best stuff happens.
Yeah, I think, again, in my writing journey of screenplays, it was like I had a screenplay I tried for years to like get right, and to make it into something that people wanted to make, and I couldn't do it. So I got kind of like artist traumatized by that project, and I swung the other way. I was like, okay, before I even start writing, I'm gonna make the story perfect in an outline. I'm gonna make it perfect. I'm not even gonna start writing until it's a perfect story in an outline form. But that made it so like I was working on an outline for years for this one project that I wanted to do. And for years and years, I was like, I can't write it yet. But then, I took that thing with Neil Gaiman, and I was like, and I started to just write it. And like not be afraid, and just start to explore what do I find fascinating about these scenes, and like how do I think these people will talk and act in these scenes. And I found myself with that again, like with that attitude of discovery. It was so much more fun. And like I think for years fun was missing from my process of writing. And like I've had people tell me that, like, you're allowed to have fun in this process. It doesn't have to be a miserable grind.
Right.
It never really I never understood it till again somebody I admire so much like Neil Gaiman like tell me
Everyone check out
what
Neil Gaiman.
he does.
Yeah, totally. That's so cool. Well, Yoko, since we're like manifesting, things like you're writing and projects for the future and like dream life, like, do you want to tell us what's like your biggest wish right now? It doesn't have to be related to like career, or why don't we do both? What is your like dream project that you want to happen? Because sometimes when you say it out loud and you put it out, it happens, but then also like I want to hear about like your dream life, because we do it all the time, because I feel like both of us you kind of created your apartment, even your lifestyle, your color, your fashion. We really are like the architects, of what we want our life to be. So what is that?
Yeah, I think with my career right now, like the next, because there's like, I don't know, I feel like there's levels of dreams, right? Like levels of things. So if I have a few different levels, right? My next most immediate dream is like a theatrically released film that I direct, right? But my big movie dream is like, oh, I want to like make my own version of like a Disney supervillain film, right? Like I want to take a Disney character and put my, emotional truth in that story and my aesthetic and my world building and just have fun in that playground.
It's gonna be so good. I can't freaking wait.
That's my movie dream. But, I think my life dream, what's crazy is like I think I'm already living my dream life, which is
Yes.
which is cool. Like again, like I look back a few years, like especially now that I have this beautiful like apartment that I curated and it's my oasis. Now I'm like, oh my gosh, like I kind of feel like I made it. Like, because before that I was living with roommates, like, roommates are so normal in LA, and I think like people of all ages have roommates and it's totally okay. But like I was in a place emotionally where I'm like, I just want my complete freedom in my own environment. And the moment I was able to actually do that, I just felt a sense of like, oh my gosh, like I can't, like I really grew up in a life where I'm like, I don't think I'll ever be able to pay for my own living. Like that was just kind of like the false belief I had in myself.
And when you decide you can do it and you want to do it, and it like where it happens.
Yeah. So like again, like the freedom I have had in like cultivating myself, my environment, I think is already a dream come true.
Yeah.
But I think the dream is to continue, like the dream is figuring out a way to have my incredibly ambitious creative goals and still live a life of rest and peace and friendship, and because those can actually be antithesis, like again, go against each other. Doing a Disney movie is not going to make my life peaceful. It's not going to make it so it's easy to connect with my friends all the time, But so how can I have both dreams that seem like a little bit going against each other and like magically have both?
I don't know, because we just really want to have it all. Right?
Yeah.
I think there's a way. That's why we're artists and we're creatives, You're going to find a way to find that balance and find a schedule or something that works. And sometimes I feel like as artists, you do have to do a little bit more and sometimes less. There's periods of like really intense like focus or production, and then there's times where, it's like a little seasonal too, which is good for us.
That's so true. Yeah. I mean, again, I think especially after this season of rest during the pandemic of the industry, which is the strike, like I think a lot of us are rearing to go. Like, make me busy, make me travel, make me, let me have a season of output, creative output. But even within that, the day to day of being on set and being in production meetings and constantly being, needing to be somewhere, when I made Unseen, I made sure to like bring a yoga mat with me and like put it on my hotel room floor, because I just knew that like at home my favorite thing to do is come home and lay on the ground. So like you just make
Perfect.
sure to like have your tools
Get cozy.
to get cozy. Yeah, and like even I when I went to New Orleans to shoot Unseen, like the first thing I went to do is like I went to Target and got big huge fluffy pillows so that I can have it on my couch when I got back, because it was like a hard hotel pillow. So it was like
Yeah.
I always
Comfort.
kind of trying to make it so when I did have the small slivers of rest time, I had like the most comfortable, like homey, joyous environment. And I wanted that for my actors too. So I was like, oh, I'll get them slippers and I'll get them like a candle, and like I tried to like make little baskets for when they were like arrived and like gifted it to them, because I just want people to feel like, yeah, because the work is so hard and grinding for weeks and weeks that you just want like all the creature comforts you can have along the process.
That's perfect. And recently, something you did was you created your own writing retreat at home, which I thought was really cool, because people like, oh, I have to spend money, I have to like go far away. And I do that too. I like leave for a week to go record in Tulsa, middle of nowhere, just to focus. But you can actually just do it in your own home. And what you told me was incredible. So like, yeah, how did you do that? If you just want to tell people how to create their own.
Yeah, I had the same idea that like, oh God, I got to get away so that I can focus, get away from, my fish tanks that I have to clean, get away from my fridge that's filling up with like rotten apples. Like I got to just get away from like the daily chores of my own environment. And I was looking up at Airbnbs and stuff, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. But then I was like, looked at my bank account. I was like, ooh, I should not. I should not. It's been a strike year. I should not. So then instead I was like, okay, I'm going to pretend like I'm in someone else's Airbnb. It's my house though. Because I was like, oh, I love my apartment. If this was somebody else's Airbnb, it would be the perfect like retreat space. Like I have a treadmill, I have my dumbbells. Like I can be physical in this space, but I have a beautiful desk. Like I'm like, this is the perfect retreat place. It just happens to be mine. So it's hard to imagine that. So what I did was, I like set aside not 4 days for the retreat, but the most important part was a 5th day that was like a retreat prep day. So on that prep day, I was like, I'm gonna do all the chores that I've been putting off, right? Like, I bought this picture frame that I never put up on the wall. Like I did every chore that would have bothered me if I was next to it while I was trying to write, I did that. I cleaned out my fridge. I did my laundry. Like I did everything to prepare the space like I was renting it out to someone else.
Yeah.
Stuff that I never would do for myself. And then that night I got a big piece of like writing paper, and I wrote down like writing retreat day 1, and I put a schedule: 8 a.m. wake up, 9 a.m. breakfast, 10 a.m. 15-minute walk, 10:30 writing block chunk 1, lunchtime. Like I just wrote everything out, and I had 3 chunks of 3 2-hour writing blocks. I call them blocks. And then I also determined like exactly when I have to stop for dinner, and then like lights out by 10. Like in my mind, there was like a woman who was in the space with me telling me what to do, and was like leading my retreat for me.
Yeah.
So then I got the more writing done in those like 4 days, and I had in like months, honestly.
Incredible. Yeah. And you still had time we chatted while you were like, I'm in the middle of my retreat.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm going to bed in like 10 minutes. But this is my day. I'm like, that's incredible.
And to be able to tell people I was in a retreat also just allowed me to have that boundary. Because when you're home, like you're like, oh, your friends ask you out, your friends, so like a normal writing day could get interrupted because you can prioritize those social gatherings. But when I was in a retreat that I like specified for myself and pretended I was paying for, I could almost act like I was out of town.
Incredible.
Yeah. So usually like when I write at home, I'm like, it would be a miracle if I wrote like a page. But like I wrote like 7 pages a day, like 4 days in a row. And like, so it really was a game changer for myself to do that. And highly recommend it.
You're leveling up. That's massive.
Finding your own way, without
Yeah.
spending money.
It's almost like tricking yourself into being, okay, I'm gonna make this thing
It
like
is.
into this experience for myself.
It is totally tricking yourself, because usually what I would do is like I'd wake up, roll out of bed whenever I want to, go to the couch in a messy space with like laundry on my bed, and like try to write on my couch, and then I'd fall asleep. But instead,
Right.
there was no mess, there was no laundry, all the dishes were done, and I actually sat at my desk, which I never do. And like I lit a
Yeah.
candle, and like this is my writing candle. When it's lit, I write, and then I put music on, and like it
So
really
good.
was a vibe.
You're setting a scene. I can totally.
I set a
see
scene,
it.
yes, and this, it was so much more conducive than my messy normal apartment. You know,
I love it. Well, Yoko, thanks so much for being the first guest. But before we end, I want to ask if I could make you a smoothie, and then with mystery ingredients, and write you a song.
a smoothie right here,
I'll make you a smoothie right here.
right here. Where's your smoothie maker?